Hello, welcome to the Jen Hayward Show on Connect TV and also the Jen Hayward Show. And I don't like this banner. I'm going to change it. So it's a ticker. That's right. I can do that. But first, I have an intro video. Let's do this thing. I was too much into my music. Hello, welcome to the Jen Hayward Show on Connect TV, and this is called Jen Try Stuff. Guess what I do? I try new things or try things I haven't done or haven't done for a long time. So if you're watching this, first of all, if you're on my personal page, you can watch it, but if you comment, I won't actually see it in real time. So you can move on to Connect TV or the Jen Hayward Show. If you are watching it, also share it. We're going to have some fun here. We're going to talk about poetry. Poetry, that's exciting. All right. So first off, welcome everyone. I would like to talk about the arts in general. So before we get into poetry, I would like to tell you about my experience as a student. So I wasn't a good student in high school because I was an athlete and had no social skills. So I took grade 12 English 3 times. Now, in that paradigm, that means you took Hamlet 3 times. So I know Hamlet pretty well. Also watched the movie. So in the university, I had to take an arts class. So I took Hamlet as interpreted through multidisciplinary arts. So it was through like visual arts and music and theater and I think movie maybe. And we had visual arts, and it was kind of cool because I had to be assigned to people, and I have my theory about pretentious art, but anyway, so I had to do visual arts, and I picked Ophelia, and I did basically a collage, and I won't lie to you, I hope they don't take my degree away, but I didn't do it. I was the director of the Women's Center, and I had our volunteers do it. I was good at outsourcing, what can I say? But I had to do my presentation, and during my presentation, I said, it was pictures of women. That was the collage. And I pointed to 3 women having coffee. And I said, oh, this represents if Ophelia had social supports at that time, she probably wouldn't have killed herself. And in unison, all 4 pretentious professors of this course went, oh. So that's what I think of the arts. But I thought poetry is interesting. Of course, in English, I took it, and my husband has recited poetry to me, but it's usually about a man from Nantucket. So it's not exactly the same kind of poetry that we're talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over a couple of poems that I have pre-recorded from my TikTok before and go through them. Then I'm going to share 2 poems that I have written. And then we decide after, does Jen like poetry? Does she want to keep going with it? Let's do this. Drop me a line in the comments if you are watching, and please share. And thank you. I have people on Twitch. I have people on YouTube. This is great. All right. So first, I'm going to show you. This is a poem. When I was in Zambia, I found an old book of poems, and I was really bored because we didn't have a lot to do, and it was just a beautiful garden. So I started reading poetry, and so I wrote this poem. I read this poem, and I just thought I'd share it with you. So let me do that, and I'll be right back.
Scott, girls and boys come out to play. Girls and boys come out to play. The moon is shining bright as day. Leave your supper, leave your sleep, and come with your playfellows into the street. Come with a whoop, come with a call, come with goodwill, or don't come at all. Up the ladder, down the wall, a halfpenny roll will cover us all. You will find milk, and I will find flour, and we'll have pudding in half an hour. I think he's luring children to his house. Poetry. Scott.
That was already done. So yeah, that was the first one. And I was just like, as I was reading it, because I was trying to understand it while I was reading out loud, sort of like, a fresh virgin, like first take. And that was what I got from that. I'm like, is he luring children with the fresh pudding, making it sound so nice? I don't know. What do you think? You can put something in the comments if you like. All right, so I'm going to go to another one. Excuse me, dog. And I want to say this. I put this on TikTok, this next one, and all anyone commented was bars. And I didn't know what that was, but just hold on to that thought. This is a minute of me saying one poem. Can you believe that? And again, like and share this if you can. All right. Jen's trying some more poetry.
In these boots and with his staff, 200 leagues and a half, walked I, went I, paced I, tripped I, marched I, held I, scalped I, slipped I, pushed I, panted, swung, and dashed I, picked I, forded, swam, and splashed I, strolled I, climbed I, crawled and scrambled, dropped and dipped I, ranged and rambled, plodded I, hobbled I, trudged and tramped I, and in lonely spinneys camped I, lingered, loitered, limped, and crept I, clambered, halted, stepped, and leapt I, slowly sauntered, randomly strode I, and, let me not conceal it, rode I, across the valleys and the highland, with all the world on either hand, drinking when I had mind to, singing when I felt inclined to, nor ever turned my face to home, till I slaked my heart in Rome. Pretentious much.
So yeah, as I was reading that, I was like, what does it even mean? But it had good beats. And I guess that's what they meant by bars. It was like you could rap it, right? And I was like, I'm not rapping anything. One, I don't want to appropriate anyone's culture. And also, I can't. So those were two sort of poems that I thought, and I've always thought poetry was interesting. Why say it in a certain way when you can say it in plain language? And then as my vocabulary has increased over the years, perhaps I can see it differently. But when I was in English 100, my husband and I, we took classes together so I could do his work for him. And we took English, and they were going through poetry, and there was one, and it was like I couldn't find it again, but the whole poem was about going to the grocery store, and some guy was going because they were out of peaches, and I get that it was an inference, but it sounded like a shopping list. And so my husband made some poetry himself, and he was like, oh yeah, here's some poetry, and it was called My Smelly Foot, and it was an ode to, I don't know if it was his or my foot. So I don't understand poetry sometimes, but I understand some concepts. So one I understand, I've always thought was funny, was a haiku, which I guess is a Japanese, and it has 5 syllables, then 7, and then 5 again. So I wrote one today. Do you want to hear it? I mean, I'm going to say it anyway, but if you want to hear it, here it goes. All right. This is a deep one. Where am I here? I'm on reverse. It's poetry time. 5. I don't know which way my hand goes. It's poetry time. I am going to write a poem. 7. And then I guess I am done. So let me bring that down for you again. It's poetry time. I am going to write a poem. I guess I am done. And that speaks to my actual communication style, which is to talk and talk and talk and never get to the point, just like my ancestors. So I thought that was neat. So I tried poetry, and that was fun, but is that poetry? And that's what I'm coming at. Is that actually poetry, or is that just Jen writing something? Like, who determines what's a poem, what's a rhyme, what's a book, so there's this high art literature, like I couldn't find it, but it was about a wagon, and there's a master's class in poetry on one poem. Like, can you imagine studying one poem for an entire semester? Like, one poem that's this big. So those were some fun poems. But right now, and I want to do a trigger warning. I actually found this when I was looking through poetry. I was like, did I ever write any poetry? And I did not. But I wrote one thing, Now, this was in a book that I've now depublished because I just don't meet the criteria anymore, called Jesus Loves a Crazy Horny Feminist. However, if you want one, I have 3,000 copies, like literally so many. It was very popular, but there's a poem in it. But this was a different time in my life where I was a different person, and I met the criteria for borderline personality. I don't meet that anymore. And although I may have up and down days, I'm not borderline. However, the poem was good. I don't know. You guys will tell me. But I do want to say that it's triggering for people with mental health. It's not subtle either, because I'm not subtle. But I wrote a poem, so I'm going to share it. All right. So, progressively got worse. Perhaps it was a curse. Not sure why I wanted to die. So instead, I sat and cried. Take her to the psych ward, they all shouted. Fuck you, I said while I slashed and pouted. But away I went and drama ensued. Friends were lost. I felt so used. BPD, they diagnosed and claimed. Again, fuck you, I said while I sat and maimed. I can't be a borderline. Don't worry about me. I'll just be just fine. Doctor, I'll just walk out that front door and continue to feel like a worthless whore. But time went by and my bottom came. I gulped some pills. Seriously? How very fucking lame. Time for serious therapy. Time to get to know the real me. That I have worth. I'm not a slut. I made progress and then hit a rut. See, friends, I feel I have a rotten core, but I'm wrong. I'm not a whore. I'm not a whore. I'm not a whore. I'm not a mother effing whore. I'm not a whore. See, normal's what I long to be, but in truth, that will never be. I am's what I am's, that Popeye said. Some days happy, some wishing I were dead. I work so hard each and every day to come and try to be okay, to rise above the BPD, to look ahead and see the real me. I accept who I am and I reject the notion that I'm damned. I want to end this poem without a rhyme, so F you, borderline personality disorder. Oops, I'm out of time. So that's a poem. What's interesting is I captured it at that time in my life. And I've been going through a really rough time in my life, some bankruptcy and some teen-related things. And I have to say, looking back and having written that piece of art or whatever you want to call it, when I actually look back and I say, oh, I've come a long way. I have come a long way. So in that regard, I think poetry was good. It gave me an outlet when I was like in the mental hospital and had nothing else to do. I worked really hard. I got ahead. And now I'm ready to face real things that are going on in life, such as life sucks and COVID and all the rest. But that's kind of what art does sometimes. So in a way, poetry is good. I don't know if I have a creative poetry because right now, I definitely like writing, but I wouldn't say what I do is poetry and beautiful. I think it's real and authentic and raw, but it's not poetry. Like I'm not smoking a cigarette and like I'm a depressed soul, and I'm not like I do like to rhyme though. If I could just rhyme for fun, I would do it all the time. I would do it right now. I would do it with a cow. I guess I can't do that. I'm not going to do that to you. So again, keeping my show at 15 minutes. Jenn tries stuff. Jenn tried poetry. And while it works for some, I find most of it a little pretentious. But I see the benefit of it. And also don't lure children to your home with pudding. Just don't do that. Don't do that. All right. So we have all learned something. I don't actually have an outro video. So I'm going to end my broadcast while I show it. But before tomorrow at 10 a.m., join us on Connect TV for Find Your Truth. It's about psychedelics and other fun things. And we've got lots of programming this week and coming on. And if you have any interest in starting an organic, raw show on Connect TV, definitely check us out and send us a line. Thanks so much. I'm Jenn Hayward.